All right, so will you get this math problem wrong? Well, hopefully not. And if you're thinking, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, let me get my calculator, I'll be able to do this problem 1, 2, 3. Well, we're not going to use our calculator to figure out the answer. So, depending on your math skills, this problem is going to be either very easy or a little bit more difficult, or unfortunately, some of you are not going to be able to get the right answer, but don't worry about it because I'm going to fully explain the solution in just 1 second. But let's take a look at the problem. We have the square root of parentheses 7 squared plus 3, all of this to the fourth power. Now we do have a multiple choice question, and let's take a look at our answers. So A is 52, B is 2704, C is 104, and D is 2 times the square root of 3. All right, so once again, no calculators, but if you can figure this out, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll share the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'm going to walk through step by step how to solve this problem without a calculator. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need help learning math, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so once again, here is the problem, and the correct solution is one of these right here. Okay, so let's take a look at the answer. The correct answer is B, 2704. Now, if you got this right, you definitely get a happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and a certificate of excellence for being a certified professional expert in the area of basic mathematics, because really that's what you need in order to solve this problem. But if you know more than basic math, this problem can be very, very easy. So let's go ahead and get into the solution right now. So here is the problem. Now, if you're looking at this and you said, I have no idea what the answer is, and you might be, kind of down on yourself for not knowing how to do the problem, well, what should you do if you're saying, I know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a guess, Mr. YouTube Math Man. Well, that's exactly what you should do. So, for those of you that are math students or still have to take math exams, the worst thing you could do is leave a math question blank. So, just take a guess, because here you have a 1 out of 4 chance to get the right answer, so never leave a math question blank. But in this particular problem, the best strategy obviously is to know the math, and we're not going to be using our calculator here. So what's going on? Well, we have this square root, so we have to know a thing or two about square roots. We also have some powers going on here, so we have 7 to the second power, or 7 squared, and then we have a fourth power here. We also have some parentheses, and we have some addition going on. So the first thing that we want to kind of understand is the correct order to do this problem. Okay, so we need to do this problem in the right order. So let's go ahead and talk about something called the order of operations. So in mathematics, things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, these things here are called mathematical operators. Now, in this particular problem, we have some other things going on. We have some parentheses, we have some powers, we have a square root. So what do we do here? What is the correct order to do this problem? Well, that brings us to something called PEMDAS, which is effectively a checklist for the correct order of operations. So when you have a math problem with more than one operation, you need to know the correct order. So let's quickly review the correct order by looking at this acronym right here, PEMDAS. Obviously, these letters stand for something. So what we have is a checklist that goes from left to right. So P stands for parentheses. You're going to start from the left, and if you have any of these in your math problem, you're going to address them. So basically you're going to do this in order. So P stands for parentheses, but it's not just these type of parentheses. It could be these kind of brackets like this. So these are what we call grouping symbols. Okay, so like these numbers right here, for example, 7 squared plus 3 are grouped together by these parentheses. Now, the way this works is if you have a math problem and you have parentheses inside of another set of parentheses or brackets, you always do the innermost parentheses first and kind of work your way out from there. Okay, so obviously the first thing we need to do is work inside of the parentheses, and that's going to bring us to our second thing here, and that is E. and E stands for exponents, but you can think of that as powers, okay? Now, when you have a power like 7 to the second power or 7 squared, that little 2 here, the little number to the top right is called an exponent. The bottom number is called the base. The entire thing is called a power. So E is power. So do we have powers in our problem? Yes, indeed we do. We have 7 squared, and we also have this fourth power, but we have to work this problem following the order of operations. So we got to work with inside. We got to work inside of the parentheses first before we get to this fourth power. Now, of course, I'm kind of giving you some big hints on what we're going to be doing here, but let's go ahead and continue on with our checklist. So M, D, A, and S stand for, well, M is multiplication, D is division, A is addition, and S is subtraction. So it's kind of logical to think, well, hey, if this is a checklist and we're going from left to right, the next thing is multiplication, and then after all multiplication's done, then it's going to be division. That's not the way this works. Excuse me. This is one of the most confused things in basic math, so you got to pay attention so you don't end up looking like this person right here. So the way this works actually is M and D is a group, okay, multiplication or division, whatever you see first from left to right. So if you have multiplication, then division in a problem, for example, if you had like 7 times 2 divided by 14, well, we have multiplication first from left to right, so we're going to do multiplication, okay? But if I had 14 divided by 2 times 7, here, I'm going to do division first because that's what I see first from left to right. Okay, so addition and subtraction works the same way. So we have to keep PEMDAS in mind through the entire process, each step of the way doing this problem. Now, there's some other things that we need to know about square roots and properties of square roots, and depending on your knowledge of mathematics, this is going to be a very easy problem, or you might have to work a little bit harder, but as long as you can get the right answer, that's what counts. Okay, so here is our problem, and in your brain, you just want to keep that PEMDAS in mind. Now, if you want to write it out on your paper, that's fine first. So you're going to ask yourself, all right, do I have any parentheses? Well, indeed we do. So that means go inside of the parentheses and get all of that done. Okay, so we're not going to think about this fourth power or the square root until all of this math is done inside of the parentheses. Now, once we look inside of the parentheses, effectively what we have is another math problem. So it's like a math problem inside of a math problem. So we're just going to go through our checklist. Do we have any more parentheses? No. Do we have any powers, exponents? Yes, indeed we do. We have to do 7 squared first. All right, so what is 7 squared? Well, by definition, when you square a number, you're just simply going to multiply it by itself. It's going to be 7 times 7, which of course is 49. All right, so that is our first step. So we have 7 squared, which is 49. So we have 49 plus 3. But again, we're not done working inside of these parentheses. So we have to finish this up. So 49 plus 3 is 52. Okay, so here is where we're at. We have 52 in parentheses to the fourth power, and we're going to take the square root of this. Now, some of you might be saying, well, you still have parentheses. Are you done with the PEMDAS part or the P part of PEMDAS? Well, yeah, basically, when you have parentheses and there's no more work left to do, well, then effectively you're done with that. So what do we have? Well, we have a power next, and we have a square root next. So here, this is where this problem gets interesting. So what does it mean to take 52 to the fourth power? Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about this right now. So powers and exponents, very, very interesting. And again, depending upon your level of math, you can approach this problem, the rest of this problem in different ways. Okay, so here we go. So we have the square root of 52 to the fourth. So 52 to the fourth is this. So an exponent, when it comes to powers, is saying, hey, take this number right here, 52, and multiply it by itself 4 times. So 52 to the fourth power is literally 52 times 52 times 52 times 52. Now here, if we're kind of, being smart, or at least efficient about solving this problem, one thing that we don't want to do is just start doing all this math. We're like, all right, I'm going to do 52 times 52, get this answer, then I'm going to take that answer, then get 52. You don't want to do all that multiplication just yet. So as I indicated, depending on your level of math skills, you can, do the rest of this problem pretty easily. Okay, so what we could do is say, well, 52 to the fourth is 52 times 52 times 52 times 52, but we could group these together because this is all multiplication. So what we have here is 52 times 52, which is the same thing as 52 squared, and 52 times 52 is also 52 squared. So really, I can think of this problem as the square root of 52 squared times 52 squared. Now, you might be saying, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, that's great. How is this going to help us out solve this problem? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so if you have a good understanding of the properties of square roots or the kind of rules of square roots, you'll know, or you should know, that you can break up a square root as two individual or individual square roots over the factors. Let me give you a simpler example here. So if I have the square root of 10, I could think of 10 as being equal to 2 times 5, right? So the square root of 10 is the same thing as the square root of 2 times 5. So there is a rule, which is called a property in mathematics, that I can take up this big square root, take this big square root, and break it up to individual square roots over the factors. So the square root of 2 times the square root of 5 is equal to the square root of 2 times 5, which of course is equal to the square root of 10. So here I could take this big square root and break it up into two individual square roots being separated by multiplication. Okay. Now this is really cool because the square root of 52 is simply going to be 52, okay? Or excuse me, the square root of 52 squared is going to be 52. But let's take a look at a simpler example. So anytime you take the square root of a number squared, it's simply going to be the number. So here I have the square root of 3 squared. Well, what is 3 squared? 3 squared is 9. The square root of 9, of course, is 3. But we don't have to go through all this process. We just look at the pattern. The square root of 3 squared is 3. So when you're taking the square root of anything squared, it's just that number. So for example, the square root of x squared is x. Okay, so here the square root of 52 squared is just going to be 52. All right, so let's go ahead and take the next step, which of course is have you quickly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, I definitely need your support to reach as many people as I possibly can. What my YouTube channel is all about is to try to teach math in a clear and understandable way. Now, I have been teaching math again for decades, many, many, many years. So I definitely know how to teach in a very formal, comprehensive manner. But one thing that I love to do is take a problem and just kind of explain it, all right? Not teach it. And there's kind of a difference between explaining and teaching, right? So if you're like lost in the classroom, and I've been this way in many of my courses, and be like, hey, I don't understand what's going on. What are you going to do? You're going to ask your best friend who's really good in math, sitting next to you, be like, hey, what did that person just say? Well, they're going to give you an explanation, right? Which is, I think a little bit easier to understand than a formal lecture. So that's what my channel is really about. Just try to break math down in simple and easy to understand concepts. But there is a time and place for formal, comprehensive instruction. So if you really, really want to learn math from me, check out my full main math courses. You'll find links to those in the description of this video. And for those of you that are not math students, but are just maybe want to kind of relearn mathematics, then check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. I basically start from basic math and go through a ton of algebra, geometry. But let's get back to this problem because we have a couple things that I want to review with you. So here we have the square root of 52 squared times the square root of 52 squared. So there's multiple ways to approach this problem. So the square root of 52 squared we talked about is going to be 52. So we're going to end up with 52 times 52. So at this point, we need to kind of do some good old-fashioned arithmetic because we don't have our calculator. So we have to figure out what 52 times 52 is. And so here we go. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 10. So I write that, put my little x here or 0, depending on how you learn multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus 1 is 26. I'm going to add all these down, all these numbers in the column manner. I end up with 2704. All right, so don't you just miss doing all this arithmetic? Now, many of us, I was learning all this good stuff way back like in 1976 or 77. It was a long time ago. And if you don't practice arithmetic because we're using calculators all the time, you're going to forget these skills. So don't feel bad if you forget or if you've forgotten how to do basic multiplication, how to work with decimals, fractions. This is a really important part of learning more advanced mathematics. So if you need to review basic math, check out either my Math Skills Rebuilder course or my Math Foundations course. I'll teach you everything you need to know. But there is our answer, 2704. Now let's go back to the problem. Okay, so here, let's say we're working the problem down and like, all right, we're looking at our options. So, as we get to a certain point, we know that we have to multiply 52 times 52, right? So here, for those of you that are test takers, if we're trying to figure this out, we can just start eliminating answers. So like 52 times 52, well, it's definitely not going to be 52, and it's definitely not going to be 104, right? Because 52 times 2 would be 104. And this number here is like 2 times the square root of 13. Well, let's just take a number that we know. Let's take the square root of 9. That's 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. So maybe this is like 7 or 8. Doesn't make a difference. This is nowhere near what the answer is going to be as a result of 52 times 52. So you can take an educated guess. Sometimes you don't even have to do the work, and this can matter, especially if you're under time pressure on an exam. So the only answer that makes sense here is 2704. But another thing that we could do is just do some estimation. So we have 52 times 52. So let's just kind of estimate, let's just round these numbers to 50 times 50. So depending on, again, your math skills and how well you can kind of work with basic number operations, you can kind of estimate this quickly. We can just like, okay, I'm going to need to add two zeros. I have a zeros and a zero here, a zero here, so 5 times 5 is 25. Add two zeros, I get 25. Or you can think of 50 as 5 times 10 and 50 as 5 times 10. So I can just multiply 5 times 5, that's 25. 10 times 10 is 100. So I literally have 25 times 100 or 2500. Now 2500 is going to be pretty close to what 52 times 52 is, 52 squared. And you can see 2704 is pretty close to the answer. Okay. Now there's one more thing that I want to cover here with you. And depending on your level of math skills, you could have taken this route. So let's kind of back up to this part of the problem when we have the square root of 52 to the fourth power. Now, one thing that you need to understand is that taking the square root of a number is the same thing as taking that number to the 1/2 power. Let me show you an example. All right, so if I'm taking the square root of 9, this is literally 9 to the 1/2 power. Okay, so we call this rational exponents. And what is 9 equal to? Well, we can think of 9 as 3 squared. So the square root of 9 is the same thing as the square root of 3 squared, which is the same thing as 3 squared to the 1/2 power. Now, there is a property of powers and exponents, again, depending on how much math you know, and we're going to be using this in 1 second. But to simplify this, when you have an outside exponent to a power, all we do is multiply that outside exponent to the inside exponent. So 2 times 1/2 is 1. So our answer here is 3 to the first, or 3. Now, of course, we already know that the square root of 9 is 3, and 9 to the 1/2 is 3, but this is a kind of a easier way to see that. So we can kind of use this fact to solve this problem. So we have the square root of 52 to the fourth power, okay? So I'm going to take this entire thing to the 1/2 power because that's what it means. And now I'm going to multiply this outside exponent to this inside exponent. So 1/2 times 4 is 2, right? So now we end up with 52 squared. And of course, we can do a quick estimation and get the right answer from there. All right, so again, do not feel bad if you made a mistake. My videos are all about learning math. And the thing about math is that you're not going to get better unless you practice. And making mistakes is part of the learning process. So never feel bad if you don't understand something. And hopefully this little video gave you some encouragement to review some basic math Again, basic math is not so basic, and it's been my experience that a lot of people who struggle in math struggle because they never really got the basics down. So do yourself a favor and go back and review, arithmetic and stuff. It's actually pretty cool stuff. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your math adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.